Hi there, welcome to Crafting with Kerry. So today we're going to look at Cricut Design Space. This is absolutely vital for you to be able to use your Cricut Smart Cutting machine. Cricut Design Space is the application that really talks to your machine and enables you to actually perform the cutting, writing, foiling, etc. functions. You can also design within Cricut Design Space, or you can use other applications as well, such as Canva, and then bring those designs through to Cricut Design Space to ultimately talk and cut with your Cricut machine. When working on Cricut Design Space, you will immediately see upon opening the application various buttons on the left, as well as a couple of toggle items on the top right. Now, for Cricut Design Space, you can use this application on Windows, your Apple products, or Android. So it is suitable to be used on phones, tablets, laptops, and PCs. Upon opening the application, you do reach this page, which is your Discover page. Provides you with a lot of different collections that you might want to look at. So if you are wanting to make some labels, you can simply click on that collection and it will come up with a number of different videos and inspiration projects. Here are some fonts, some icons that you may be interested in, just to help you to get going. We also have the Inspire section. And in the Inspire section, you'll find products and some pictures that you might be interested in based on projects that you have previously made. So here are a couple that are just based on what I've made previously that may be of interest. And this will be tailored to you as you go through the process with Design Space. My Stuff. This will be where all your projects are. So anything that you have made, anything that you've saved is going to be provided here under My Projects. You also have a bookmark section. Here are various projects that you may have found that you're inspired by and you perhaps want to work with or recreate. And that is where you'll find all your bookmarked items. How do you bookmark? It's simply just clicking on this little tag on projects that you find under that Design or Inspire homepage. Ready to make? There are some projects that you may be interested in. Simply can click on them and make them as is, or you can customize them and make them your own. There are also collections. And generally, you are limited to 5 collections. Unless you have Cricut Access, then you are permitted to have a few more. So you can make collections based on your projects and you can put them all together within a single collection. It just makes it a little bit easier to categorize and find them as you need to within your collections and all your projects. You also have a little sign up to Cricut Access. So that is how you can sign up to join Cricut Access. There is both a monthly and an annual subscription option. And then you also have the heat guide. That is an external, takes you to the browser. And there you're able to select what heat press you have. Which Cricut heat press do you have? Is it a mini press? Is it the auto press? Is it the easy press 9x9? You can also select the material that you will be using as well as the type of iron-on that you're using. It will then give you a setting guide for what you should do to get the optimal pressed iron-on project. So it will tell you the temperature, how long you should be doing the press, and a couple of little tips as well as to what you should be doing to get the absolute best results. Now you can also move along to the Canvas section, and this is where you're going to go through your design process. So if you haven't selected a pre-made project, you can move through to the Canvas and design your own. So new just brings up a new page for you. templates. You can use this in conjunction with the Cricut templates. So if you have Cricut coasters or Cricut mugs or cutaway cards, you can put this onto your canvas and it will provide you with a little guide as to what you can use, like what type of space you have to work with. So if you click on shirt, like there's different types of shirts. So if you click on adult medium, then provides you with a little guide that you can use for both front and back. And then you can simply go through and do your design. It gives you a little guide of what kind of size you should be looking at. If you're looking at a pocket type emblem, if you're looking to do the entire full shirt on the front, or alternatively, if you're wanting to do a design on the back, what kind of size you should be looking at. I think this is one of the things that we struggle with in the beginning, is just to understand size dynamics and what we should be going for our different projects. Looking at projects, this is again just some inspiration like you have seen on the home page. But you can do a search for whatever type of project you're looking for. So say we're looking for, or you can simply drag the corner and make your text bigger. This also opens this little additional section here at the bottom, which is particularly for the text option. So I'm going to start with style because I know that Cricut Sans has various styles. You can change it to various text writing styles, so be it bold, be it italic. These are quite nice for cutting. So if you're wanting to cut out the text in some vinyl or cardstock, you can use those types. And then you also have writing. So if you're wanting your Cricut machine to actually write something out with one of the Cricut pens, you can choose rather a writing italic or a writing style. When looking at your fonts, what is nice is there has been an update on our fonts where you can actually put in the text that you want. So say we're wanting to write happy you can then simply change the font, and it's going to give you a nice little preview here. So what does your message or writing look like in the different fonts? And that just helps you to find something that is going to be suitable for what you are creating. So maybe you like this font. You then select it and it will be able to apply it to your text. And now this is still on a pen operation. So if you wanted to change to be cut out in vinyl or cardstock, you can choose basic. So there are a number of different operations here. Basic means a basic cut. You've got draw using either a pen or foil. You've got print and cut. So if you don't want to write this out, you simply want a printer to print it. And then after you could cut it out, and you also have guide. So guide is nice when you are dealing with a particular project or item that you're wanting to personalize. So say you have a jewelry box, you can use guide. So you'll choose perhaps a shape of your jewelry box. In my case, it may be a square. So you can then use the square, just make it a bit bigger. I say this is going to be the size of my jewelry box. I've measured it. You can then change the operation to guide. Now you see it turns it into a pink outline. This pink outline is not going to be cut by the Cricut machine. So it's not recognized as something that needs to be cut. It's simply a guideline for you to be able to put your project within that area. So you know that whatever you cut is going to fit within that particular project or blank that you are using. It's also especially useful for your acrylic discs, keychains that you may be making, will ensure that you're not going to end up in a situation where your design is bigger or being cut off on corners when it comes to applying it to your blank. Okay, so let's remove that and get back to our text. Okay, so like we said, we would change that probably to basic if we're wanting to cut it out. And different fonts have different styles. So some of them have a writing and a regular. Some of them have more, like the Cricut Sans have quite a lot more type of writing styles. In terms of fonts, there are a lot of Cricut fonts. As you can see, these ones with the little A require you to have Cricut Design Space access for you to, in fact, utilize them. There are also filters here, so you can use filters depending on what type of writing you are wanting to find. So is it all caps? Of course, you can simply write in all caps, or alternatively, you could search for a font that requires all caps up front. Current. These types of fonts have spacing between the letters that are very aesthetically pleasing. So they don't have necessarily an even space between each letter, but they are going to be a spacing that looks very pleasing to the eye. There's multi-layer cutting. So do you want to cut more than one layer for your text? Single layer. Writing. Are you looking for a font to write on the inside of a birthday card? Okay, free. If you are using the free version and you only want to use free fonts, you can simply click on free to filter for the free option. Any fonts that you've perhaps purchased outright. So while they do have the subscription option, it doesn't mean that you can't use the fonts. If you don't want to subscribe, you can actually, when you click on make, actually check out. So you can pay for the use of that font, and you would have the use of that font for the lifetime of Design Space. So you'll be able to use that over and over again. So if there's a particular font that you really, really like and you only want to use the free version, you can purchase a font of Cricut for your usage. Downloaded, and then various languages as well. There are also different types of collections. So are you looking for a more decorative type font, vintage, stencils? So there's a number of different applications and options here for you, just so that you're able to find the most optimal font for your project. You can also use system fonts. So this is quite nice in that the fonts that you have installed on your computer will be shown here. So you can use these fonts as well. They don't show you the preview of the writing, but you will be able to apply it to your text and use that for the purposes of your project. So that is also an option. You can also download various free fonts, and you would be able to then use this within your projects, and they would be found under the System tab. You also have your recently used fonts, so any fonts that you've recently applied in your various projects, and then you can also bookmark fonts. So if you like this particular font, you can click on this button and bookmark it, and it would then be shown in your bookmark fonts. So that is a very nice feature where you can keep all of your favorite fonts, because you don't want to have a situation where you're looking for fonts that you've used before, and it can be quite time consuming, but we often do spend a lot of time looking through all the fonts and trying to find one that is going to be the best for our project. You can also select the font size, letter spacing. This is going to adjust your letters between one another. So if you increase it, you're adjusting the letters between them. Okay, if you are reducing it, okay, you're making them closer together. You then have line spacing vertically, so between the happy and the birthday, you can either increase or decrease that line space. So if you want that a bit closer together, you have that option as well. So there's a number of different options for you when it comes to designing your projects. Your alignment, you can align left, center as it was. You can align right. There's also top, bottom, and you can also have wrapping. So you can have your text wrap on or off. The default is off. Okay. Then you have a curve option. So the curve option you're not going to see when you have two lines like that. So you just do your writing, your text. You can then change this to pen, whatever pen you're wanting to use. Okay, you can align these together to get your items in the center. So there's various alignment options. You can either align to the left, so everything goes to the left. You can align center horizontally, so everything is going to be centralized on the horizontal axis. You can align left. You can align to the top. You can center vertically. You can also align to the bottom, and you can align to center. Okay, so that's just quite a helpful tool for you to then have both this draw option for happy birthday and pen plus cutting around the cardstock in a square. You can then select attach. That is going to attach everything together, and it tells Cricut that I want these functions to be done on the same piece of material. So if we go to the make screen on a mat, here you'll see everything is together on a single mat, on a single material, that you will then have both those functions on the same spot. So that is something to keep in mind. You can also attach images or items that you want to be cut out on the same space, on the same material. So that is the importance of our attach function. Let's just get rid of this. We're going to look at one more of the very useful align functions, and that is where they are able to distribute horizontally. And I'm going to show you what you mean by that even distribution. So say you have a number of different items. You can take them, and let's just shift that further across, and you can align them, center them to the top, or align them to the top. You then click on the align function again, and you can distribute them horizontally. And as you see, they've now placed these stars evenly apart. And you can do the same vertically as well. This is quite nice if you have a repetitive design, or you're wanting to put a number of different elements, perhaps on party foil for confetti for the table. You can then put a duplicated number of items and then use a even spacing. It's also useful for patterns. If you are wanting a repetitive pattern on a Christmas cracker, you can do drawing or writing, foiling on your cardstock, and thereafter do the scoring and cutting of that Christmas cracker, and then you can put it all together. So those are also various options. There is also a color sync option. So you might find with adding various images, etc. on your canvas that you have items that are all different colors. Perhaps you have items that are on various shades of blue, and you actually just want them to all be using the same blue. So you can use color sync. And you can then drop items under the color that you want. So perhaps I want 3 stars to be this dark blue and 2 stars to be this medium blue. You can do that. And the color sync just helps you to get everything more aligned, and so that you don't have 50 shades of blue when you get to your design, which is all going to be placed on a different mat. So that is why our colors become important, not only for us to visualize our projects, but it's also important because each different color is going to be prompted to give you a different mat when it comes to the make screen. So when you go to make, It depends on what type of material you're going to be using for your project. So is it without a mat? Are you using Cricut Smart Materials? So your Cricut Smart Materials on your Explore 3 and 4 and your Maker 3 and 4, as well as your Joy Extra and your Joy. There are all various options in terms of utilizing your smart materials and engaging in matless cutting. Are you going to use a mat? So are you going to stick your material onto one of the Cricut mats? Are you in fact going to be using a card mat? This is for your pre-folded cards that are provided by Cricut. You can also make your own pre-folded cards in those similar dimensions and then use a card mat, or you're going to be using multiple different applications for loading your material. So most commonly used is on a mat. You can click remember the selection and it's going to use that as almost a default. And now you see here we had two different types of blue stars and they've each been shown on a separate mat. Okay, so you can then again change if you do have a situation where you're saying, oh no, actually I don't have this to go on a mat, or I want to actually use it without a mat. You can do that. You can adjust that and it will tell you about your material size, what kind of material size you need to use. Okay, you can also change it back. You then can also select your material size. So generally this will be based on your machine, so depending on what machine you're using and what kind of mat size you'd be expected to use as well. And there is our second material. You can also move your items around on the mat. So if you find that you actually only have a straight edge down the right hand side of your material that is going to be best to use, you can also shift those to the left. Or if you find that side of your mat is perhaps more sticky than this default left-hand side, you can move it to the area of your mat where it's a bit more sticky, so you can get the most use and longevity out of those mats as well. Another nice feature is project copies. If you're actually wanting to make multiple of these items, you can click 5. Because I have 2 here, if I apply to 5, it is going to make 10 stars. Okay, so it's going to duplicate it by 5. And here I had 3, so it will now have 15 stars. That's also a very nice way for you to make multiple copies, as opposed to going back to your canvas and actually multiply out or duplicating your project multiple times to get the same effect. So you can use that as well. And looking at our other options at the top, you can in fact open a new window. So if you open a new window, it will open another application and window of the Cricut Design Space. And you can in fact cut on 2 multiple machines, so 2 different machines at the same time with 2 different projects. So when you get quite advanced, a lot of people do like to use that. There is a help button. It does take you to the various items being your how-to videos. Cricut has some how-to videos that you're able to utilize. Cheat sheets, so a little bit of information on the various elements of Cricut Design Space. Your keyboard shortcuts, so what keys should you be using if you do like shortcuts using your keyboard. What's new? Report a bug. So if you do come across something in the Cricut Design Space that is an issue, that you can let them know and they'll be able to assist you with that. Online help center, as well as contact member care. So if you are having an issue with your machine or one of your items, your materials, you are able to click on contact member care, click on your country, and it will provide you with all the details relating to the Cricut member care applicable in your area. You can click on My Machine. Here you're able to select which of your machines you want to connect to. It will also then tailor your project towards that. So if I had selected something like my joy, I wouldn't have the print and cut feature. So it wouldn't allow me to select operations that require print and cut. So it does tailor the canvas to the operations available on your machine. The same as with the Explore. If I'd selected Explore, it wouldn't allow me to select materials such as basswood for me to cut because it does not have the knife blade, or it would not have an item such as the rotary blade. So if I'm wanting to cut some sort of fabric, then it might say, okay, you're not going to have those options. You might need to use a different function for you to then ensure that you're able to cut that project. Or if it is something such as like engraving, you're not going to have that option with the Explore 3. So the canvas will be tailored based on which machine you have selected. You also have a notifications button, and you can adjust your settings to what you want to be notified for. You also have your profile. You can click on your profile, notifications again, settings. Again, there is a same place here to report any issue. Click on your account or sign out. If you do click on your settings here, you do get a different pop-up window. Here, you're able to make various selections as well. So your country, your language. Saving for offline. Do you want your projects to be saved in the cloud only or cloud and computer? So most of us do choose cloud only because it's just going to save some space on your computer. It's not going to take up as much space within that. Your application experience. Do you want to use the live version or the beta version? The beta version will include new functions that are perhaps being rolled out or tested. So you can use that if you prefer. Also, when you are having an issue with one version, you can switch or toggle between the beta and the live version. Content, there is an option to show mature content. So swear words, different mature type humor. You can click to show that. I believe the default is off. Machines, here will be all of your machines that you have connected to. You can also click on your machine and you would then have the option to update it. So checking your firmware, that's quite a nice function to do before you call member care, just to make sure that your machine is up to date. Because I believe that is one of the areas that they do use first when it comes to troubleshooting any issues with your machine. You can also calibrate your machine. This is important, especially for print and cut. It's just going to help to get the best accuracy for your particular machine around those stickers or around whatever it is that you are cutting out. It's also important for things like your knife blade. It's going to check that everything is well calibrated, and it's going to ensure you have the most accurate cut for your machine. And you can also create custom material settings. You might find that you are using an off-brand craft foam or glitter foam, and you want to perhaps increase the pressure or make it do 2 or 3 passes of your blade along the craft foam. You can then create your custom material settings as well. So that is a very useful function, remembering that all of the cut functions that are preloaded onto Design Space are tailored to be used with Cricut materials with the Cricut machines. So if you do use something that is off-brand, it is always important that you do a test cut before unloading it. You just want to make sure that it is cut through. And if not, with your Explore or Maker versions, you can rerun that cut. So before unloading, you can click the Cricut or the play button, depending on which machine you have, and that will ensure that your project is run again through the entire cut without moving it. If you do unload and reload, you're going to find that it's going to be in a slightly different positioning when it gets to that cut, and it's not going to cut exactly over the previous lines. Canvas, you can choose a full grid. You can choose a partial grid. As you can see on the background, it has changed to bigger blocks or no grid at all. So it's simply based on your preference. Units, you can choose imperial or metric. And then you have your load type, different options, defaults for your various machines. It's not something I typically would fiddle with. It's generally on the appropriate defaults for each machine. You then again also have your notification preferences and your system and system requirements. One other item that is quite interesting to show you is, say you do have a project that is white and you then have a background which is white. You might want to have a background that is a different color. It may be based on, say, your cake icing or whatever blank you are using to apply your Cricut cut items from. You can in fact change the color of the canvas. So click on blank canvas and you'll see a little color option pops up here, and you can then change your canvas to a certain color. That just helps you to visualize, especially for items that you're going to cut out in white. Just helps you to get a better picture of what your final project is going to look like. And there's also a monogram function. This again is a Cricut access feature, so you do need to have subscribed to Access to be able to access this particular function. But it is very lovely. You can include your initials. So for me, it's KG. And you can choose various operation types. So do you want it to cut? Do you want it to cut and draw? So what type of function are you looking for? And then also various borders. So what type of border would you like around your text? You can also select the text itself, what text style you are looking for. Okay, so depending on the function is what options you'll have available to you. You also have various items and options available under the classic menu. So you have elegant, you have handwritten, you also have vintage and thematic. So you do have botanical. These are beautiful, lovely, lovely options that you can use. There's also decorative, occasions, so for graduations, interests, some lovely options that you can use, and sports as well. So a lovely additional add-on feature in being the monogram maker. These are particularly useful when you are doing things like hip flasks or bottles, or you're doing a small jewelry box. You can use these types of monograms on your blank that you're doing. Okay, we also have lastly an upload feature. So the upload feature lets you upload different items to Design Space. So you do have the upload image function, and these are the types of files that are compatible. So if you are perhaps importing from Canva, you can use the SVG, so you can upload your SVG itself, and you can bring those through directly to Design Space. There is also a pattern fill, so you can upload a pattern and include that there. That is also an option under your colors as well, so it's not something that is used quite often. But if we just go back quickly to understand what a pattern is, say you have the star and you want to include them with a pattern. Okay, generally you would go for the print then cut. Color you would change to a pattern. And here you can now choose various patterns for filling in your star. So whatever is suitable for your design or for your project, you can then have a pattern. And like I said, this is going to be under the operation print then cut. So if you don't see the option initially, make sure that your operation is print then cut. This star would then be printed out on my inkjet printer and then loaded to my Cricut machine to make the cutouts. So that is an option in terms of pattern. And like I said, you can upload patterns as well. So you aren't restricted to only uploading images. You can upload other patterns as well. So if you are uploading images, it will prompt you to browse, or you can simply drag your picture there. If you go to your downloads, you can click on an image. This might be something else for a pattern, but we'll just use it as an image for now. And you can click on continue. If you preview it as a single layer, so if it was to cut this out in vinyl, you'll see that it's simply going to cut it out as a square. That is because of this type of image. If you would want it to cut out the hearts and the little cats, you can do that by removing the background. So Cricut Access again has a feature. So if you've paid for the subscription, you can do an automatic background removal. If you click remove background, it should automatically remove the background for you. As you can see here, it did that, but not something I use very often, especially with uploaded images. You can also select the area you want to remove. So you can click on that pink area, and if I preview the single layer, you can see it's actually going to cut out like this. It would cut out little cats and hearts. You can also erase. So say you want to erase these little dots here, you can do so. You can erase them from your image. You can also restore. So if you want to just select the area, and you can restore any areas that you want to include. There is also a undo button. So there it has undone and put these dots back. If I click on redo, it's going to then redo that. Okay, you can click on apply and continue. There are various options here. So this is the single layer cut. If you wanted to cut those cats out of, say, purple vinyl, you could do so, or even pattern vinyl. There's lovely various patterns available from Cricut. You can also use HTV, so your heat transfer vinyl or iron-on. You could do print then cut if you're wanting it to print and then cut a rectangular around that. Or alternatively, you can have multiple layers. This is an option with Cricut Design Space. So if you click on multiple layers and click continue, it's going to talk about providing various colors or layers for your item. So this is 2 colors. It selected the basic 2 colors, but you can select up to more colors if you would like. So if you collect 5 colors, 5 different shades that you would then cut and layer, then you would get this type of a design. So there's lots of options here where it can make your design into a multiple layer, or you can choose single layer as well, or you can choose a flat graphic. Okay, you then click on upload. You can also change your image name, especially if you're wanting to go back and search for your uploaded items. You would want to make sure that it's named something that when you search for it, you're going to find that. Okay, you can also hide items. So say I temporarily want to hide my stars. I can simply click on this little eye icon next to these and hide them. So now I'm just left with my little cats. If you have your cats like this and you actually just want perhaps one single cat, you can do that by slicing it out. So you can use a shape. Normally we do use a shape to try and cut an item out of a larger area. So if I take this square, let's click on shapes to close that menu, or you can click on this arrow to close your menus. We're just going to click on the unlock button so we can try and cut our cat out of here. Try and make sure that it is in fact covered. If we highlight both of these 2 items, remember the slice function can only be used when only 2 items are selected. You can then click on slice. Okay, we now have our little cat free. Okay, so we can then delete any unwanted parts. If we want to hide this, we just click on the little eye icon, and here we can then deal with our kitty. As you will see if we zoom in, there are some little bits on the side here and there. So what I normally do is just get another shape. You can use the same shape or another shape, whichever you prefer. And then I simply resize it so I can slice out that section that I don't want. I'm just going to duplicate this as well so we can get it here. If I want to slice out at the same time both sections, remember that we want to make this one, so we weld it together so it becomes one layer, because the slice function only allows us to slice 2 layers. We can then slice, and we can remove these unwanted sections. And here we go. Then we have our item that is now separate. We can make it into a sticker. We can use it as part of a card. Whatever your application is, whatever your project is, you can then use that within it. So that is just a little explanation for you on the basics of Design Space. I hope that you have found this to be useful. If there are any other elements or items that you would like me to do a demonstration on, I'm more than happy to help. Just pop a comment below the video. And don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and please share this with your friends so we can all have fun crafting together. Thanks for joining us today, and happy crafting.